Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Unite Pieces channel, and today we will be narrating an action, thriller movie, titled Cyborg X. Make sure you watch this video to the end, for a better experience. The movie opens with humanity around the world being shocked by the news of the leak of a secret government project called Cyborg, or a killing machine that went out of control. In an interview with the President of the United States, it is known that the government is working with the X-Corp company to make advanced weapons whose original purpose of making cyborgs is for national defense. The President did not deny that the X-Corp company lost control of its operating system, and the government promised to solve the problem immediately. There is a lot of confusing news about Jack Kilmore, the CEO of the X-Corp company, who is suspected of disappearing. Some even say that he was killed in the first wave of attacks. The second wave of cyborg attacks has begun, but the main targets are major cities around the world, such as Paris, New York, Beijing, Tokyo, and other major cities. Many casualties have fallen, and the military is struggling to deal with cyborgs that are too strong and cannot die. 1 year hiding underground, the remaining humans return to the surface to survive even though they had to move around to avoid the cyborgs. After this catastrophic attack, the condition of the Earth became arid and very dangerous, because starving humans became a new enemy for the survivors. Not all humans could survive these conditions. The main problem besides the cyborgs was food ingredients. After a few hours of wandering around looking for useful items, suddenly the radar detected an unfamiliar object, which was not far from its position. After being followed, it turned out that it was two survivors who were trying to escape from the spider drone's distance. But after the drone identified the faces of the two survivors, suddenly a cyborg appeared who immediately killed the woman, while the man was only made unconscious and taken away. After the condition was safe, the survivor then approached the crime scene, and found a hard drive that read "Kill More." At the military camp, an area out of spider drone range, the survivor who previously came to the camp, who turned out to be a female soldier, named Lieutenant Spears. Then the lieutenant gave the drive to a colleague, and after the drive was examined, there was a location of the cyborg headquarters, and information about the attack of the cyborgs on July 4th. There was an argument there, because the lieutenant wanted to immediately attack the cyborgs, while Colonel Shaw did not want to take risks if he did not have a sufficiently mature plan. Lieutenant Shaw then approached 3 soldiers, including Lieutenants Lopez, John, and the lazy one, Carly, asking them to get ready for a briefing. The man with glasses, or the expert hacker, explained that Jack Kilmore was a genius. At the age of 19, Jack was already named the Golden Boy of Engineering by the High-Tech magazine company, and at the age of 26, Jack started a new sector in home defense that focused on weaponry and remote surveillance equipment. It is undeniable that Jack's genius can destroy the Earth. Lieutenant Spears then reveals that the man Cyborg brought is Jackie Kilmore. Hearing that, the colonel plans to send 3 soldiers there to bring Jack. While they are planning a strategy, suddenly there is a very loud gun sound, which comes from Captain Machine Gun, Colonel Shaw's brutal partner. 3 soldiers were commanded to prepare for the worst that would happen in the field. When they arrived at the location, they were given directions to sneak so that the cyborgs would not realize their existence. They arrived at an abandoned place where there were several weapons and controllers to create cyborgs. In a room they found human corpses, one of which was Jack. When Charlie was about to examine it, Jack suddenly woke up and took Charlie hostage, thus creating a little tension, which fortunately could be suppressed by Lieutenant Lopez. After that, Charlie, who did not accept, was pointing a gun at Jack, but John threatened to shoot him if Charlie made a fool. Feeling not defended, Charlie decided to leave his colleagues. After a little drama, they rushed to another place, but one of the cyborgs intercepted and managed to make John dead. The resistance given was only able to temporarily paralyze the cyborg, so Lopez and Jack had to leave immediately. However, when they managed to get out, suddenly one of the strongest cyborgs appeared, which made them difficult, but fortunately they managed to escape, although Lopez had to get a serious wound in his stomach. At night, Captain Machine, who was on guard, was approached by Lopez's son, who we call the Tall. The man was then taught to shoot by Captain Machine. The captain reminded him that one day he would face the cyborgs. Meanwhile, in the interrogation room, Jack recounted that a month before the incident, Jack was visited by the President of the United States, who asked him to work together to create advanced weapons under the pretext of making a defense against foreign threats. An artificial intelligence engineering in the form of a cyber virus was finally made on July 4th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. However, when Jack uploaded the folder containing the virus, A few minutes later, Jack lost control of all his operating systems, including passwords, location platforms, and so on. As a result of this, the cyborgs began slaughtering humanity. No amount of resistance could stop the cyborgs, unless they were disabled by killing the controller, and disabling the system containing the cyber virus. To locate the controller, they had to take the drive inside the spider drone. At midnight, Jack approached the lieutenant who was looking into cyborgs, explaining that there are two types of cyborgs. The first is the human cyborg type, which is a prisoner of war controlled by the cyborgs, and the second is the Cerebrum C1 type, commonly called the controller. The next morning, when making a plan, they were confused about using an effective weapon with one attack, but they had the idea to lure the drone closer, making it easier to attack. They also managed to destroy the drone and take the drive. Inside the drive there were 750 trillion files that they had to check. But with all these complexities, Jack managed to break the code combination with his program script, although it still took a long time to check 750 trillion files. After a while, Jack and the others have managed to find the coordinates of the Cyborg Central Facility, or rather Ground Zero. However, suddenly the drive confirmed a new coordinate, which they didn't realize the drive had a tracker and that coordinate was their location. Then the colonel commanded them to prepare for battle. The spider drones and cyborgs started coming, and the battle was inevitable. However, they couldn't keep fighting the cyborgs, so the colonel ordered the lieutenant to leave the battle. In the battle, the colonel and Lopez died, and with the sacrifice of Captain Machine, the survivors managed to hide to safety. Becca and Tall hid in the bunker, while Lieutenant the Hacker and Jack moved away to safety. However, all the equipment such as ammunition, bombs, detonators, and other equipment had disappeared. There was no hope for the lieutenant to carry out the plan, but Jack Kilmore gave hope. If they stopped just because of that, then the sacrifice of the fallen comrades would be in vain. In the end, Jack found a way into the facility. Slowly they went through every room there, but the lieutenant, who was surprised to see the cyborg, reflexively shouted and shot, but the cyborg was still disabled and not controlled. Soon they managed to find the system room, at which time the hacker immediately hacked the computer to deactivate. The hacker found it quite strange because the controlling computer did not use a password or other security. The process took a little time, but while waiting for the process to be completed, they heard the arrival of the cyborgs, who already knew where they were. Meanwhile, in the bunker, Jong-kun and Becca are looking at the CCTV screen that shows the cyborgs who are still there. They see Colonel Shaw, who turns out to be alive with a terrible body condition. Even in this condition, the colonel still takes a cigar and makes a final attack, which is witnessed by Jong-kun and Becca, but the colonel is killed immediately afterwards. The colonel's death was followed by Becca's scream, and that made their position known to the cyborgs. Back to Jack and the lieutenant, who got news from the hacker that the process was almost complete. But a few moments later there was a failure. Due to a firewall, a new problem arose when one of the cyborgs came and immediately attacked them, thus making the hacker die instantly, while Jack, who was almost killed, was saved by the lieutenant, until finally Jack managed to behead the cyborg. After that, they were again chased by cyborgs, which made them get to the prison, where the prisoners who would be made into cyborgs. The chase did not stop there. They were cornered into a vent, which led them to the cyborg cerebrum, or the controller, which turned out to be the controller was Jack's girlfriend, Amy. Jack was silent for a while, but then Jack unplugged the device connected to Amy, his consciousness returned, and Amy said that Jack had to immediately deactivate the virus before they saw it. On the other hand, the cyborgs had entered the bunker and frightened them, but the lessons from the previous captain made the tallest brave to fight back, although he managed to paralyze one cyborg, but unfortunately the tallest had to die to protect Becca. Back to Jack. Jack, who was one step away from pressing the off button, suddenly a video call came in from the president. From the video it was revealed that the government made a manipulation to make the public believe that they created cyborgs to protect the country, and the news about the cyborgs going out of control aimed to make Jack the one to blame for all the chaos. In fact, the government wants to create an obedient army like cyborgs, who are tasked with cleaning the earth to restart life. Jack was silent for a moment. Then when he was about to press the off button, Jack was suddenly stopped by Amy, who had lost consciousness, and Jack was stabbed until he was helpless. After that, Amy attacked the lieutenant until he was cornered, but a memory of Becca and his late little daughter made the lieutenant rise, and in the end the lieutenant managed to defeat Amy. However, everything is not over yet, because Amy, who is still alive, summons a cyborg, who when will attack the lieutenant. Jack, who woke up, sacrificed himself, even though he had to be skinned by a cutting machine. At the same time, the lieutenant, who is about to be killed by the cyborg, manages to press a button that makes the cyborgs deactivate. At the end of the movie, the lieutenant and Becca, who survived, decide to look for a better place, and maybe they can meet other survivors, and free the Earth completely from destruction, and the movie ends. So, what do you think about this movie? Maybe you can write it in the comments column. If you like this video, don't forget to like it, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.